In this video, we're going to test out anti-gravity on two features. We're going to be building a new feature for a mobile app that was a request that I got from a user. We're also going to conduct a security audit, and we're going to do this both in the agent manager mode on anti-gravity. And then while those are running in the background, we'll talk a little bit about the cost, features, model access, why this is such a valuable platform, especially if you have a Google Pro account. And we'll compare this to the IDE that I'm coming from, which is Cursor, how this compares to command line interfaces like Gemini CLI and Claude Code. And then what we'll do is together, we'll actually test out the app and the new feature in Android Studio with a virtual device to actually see what anti-gravity was able to deliver. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what the actual app is. You can open this up on Google Play or the App Store. It's called Tummy Scanner, and I would love if you guys tested it out, gave me your feedback. But at a high level, the point of it is tackling I'm full with fun. There's a lot of kids that struggle with eating, that are often picky eaters. And so the point of the app is you enter a food, type in the food, or you can take a photo. In this example, we use steak, and then there'll be this anticipation building animation. And it's really just a way to fool the kids to let them think that the device is actually listening to their stomach. And then you'll get a final screen that you'll present to the child. You have 2.5 more bites to eat. You've got a tummy tickler, which is effectively just a dad joke. You get a fascinating fact about the food and nutrition knowledge. I made it entirely free. And if you go on the website, tummyscanner.app, go to the research hub, you can learn more about picky eating and power of play-based learning and how creating an environment that's no pressure is actually constructive and helpful for kids to evolve and grow out of being a picky eater. I had a user that had reached out by email and they love the app. They use it with their daughter all the time. Something that they think is missing is a way to actually set the number of bites left. For example, if they just need to eat one more bite to finish, you should be able to preset it to one more bite before the scanning feature. The app is currently set up. If I were to use Apple as an example, hit scan. It's now calling a cloud function just to confirm the name of the food and some guardrails that we have in place. It then goes through the actual scanning process, and then it will pre-generate bites generated. And ultimately, their AI suggestions anywhere between 1 to 4 in increments of 0.5 based on dietary science for kids. The more dense the food is and the more satiating, so something like chicken, the number of bites generated will be lower. And if it's a lighter food, so in this case with apple, you get something a little bit on the higher end. So in this case, you get 3 more bites. And so what this parent is asking for, can I add a feature where they can actually set the number of bites before they kick off the scanning process? What we're going to do is I'm actually going to open up anti-gravity. And so by default, it's going to take you to what they call their agent manager. You also have the option to go to more of a conventional IDE interface. This is very similar to how Cursor is set up, where you have the agent mode on the right, you have the file explorer on the left, and then in the middle, you actually have the file that's open, and then you can actually see the code itself. So if you prefer to interact in this way, you can change the conversation mode to planning, or I guess in this case to fast, and then you can actually set the model that you want. And in this case, we're going to go to the agent manager mode. So I think this is really where vibe coding and just coding in general is going to go because of how good the models are actually getting. So there'll actually be this inbox and it will notify you when they're done. Can you do a deep dive on the code base of my project scanner? Then I want you to review this new feature I'm considering. So I'm actually going to turn this on to Gemini 3 Pro High, but we do have access to Opus 4.5 thinking and Sonnet 4.5 thinking. So what I'm really asking it to do at the onset is just to first understand the code base, because it's the first time I'm using this IDE on this platform. All I've done is clone the GitHub repo of the project. And what I'm considering is adding a toggle called custom bite mode. So what I'm thinking is maybe right here underneath the take photo on the home screen, if you check this on, then you're always going to be presented with another box that will ask you to input the bite. Or if it's toggled off, then it's just going to be the standard default. So I'm personally leaning a little bit more towards 1. The second option is every time you use the app, it's just going to always ask you like, let Tummy Scanner decide or input bite count. So I'm ultimately saying I'm leaning towards 1, but I wanted your thoughts, and let's just kick that off. And while that's running, I'm going to set up another chat, and this conversation is going to be for a security audit. And so Google Cloud did reach out and say, if you are using any of these Gemini models, which I'm actually not, but in the event that I was, changing the naming convention from Gemini Pro latest or Gemini Flash latest to Gemini 3 Pro preview, I'm going to throw that in there. I want you to review the entire code base and conduct a two-part security audit. Now for part two, I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a softball. Go to my Firebase console, open up the app. I did the security check recommendation. Next thing I'm going to do is please web search, review this link vulnerability, explore to see if that is exposed of these issues. So I'm going to hit that and send, and then you'll see here in my inbox, I need to respond now for the first query. So again, this is just how I currently approach this. Maybe I can be a little bit more trusting platform, but for now, I just wanted to kind of review it. My other request for the security audit. Good news, your application is not affected by either issue. Okay, fantastic. So I'm just coming back to this one. We'll detect the manual byte. Okay, perfect. The only thing I'm going to do differently here, and it's not that I don't trust Gemini 3 Pro high, but one of the great advantages of anti-gravity is that you have access to Claude Opus thinking, which is just, in my opinion, the best coding model that exists today. So I actually would rather switch over to Claude Opus 4.5 thinking to complete the actual feature build out. So I'm going to press proceed, and now it should start working through this. Let's go back to this one quickly. So it actually just gives, and what I really like about anti-gravity, and I know Cursor's probably at this point rolled out very similar features since the last time I've been on, but they actually give this little walkthrough document. So you can just quickly review the conclusion of what's going on. And I think just a great clean feature that you want to see whenever you're working on a variety of different topics, just to keep yourself organized. Okay, I'm gonna let this run, head back over here. Some of my thoughts on anti-gravity and Cursor while this is running in the background. So the first thing that I'll say is anti-gravity is entirely free. Anyone can use it and download it, which is just a huge step up to a platform like Cursor. I think why there's so much value in this particular product is the Google AI Pro plan. So this is actually something I subscribe to. I was actually paying for this and for Cursor. The advantage of having the AI Pro plan is that you actually also get 2 terabytes of cloud storage, higher access and rate limits on the Gemini app, especially for things like deep research, image generation, Nano Banana Pro, VO3 Fast. You get access to Flow, which is their AI filmmaking tool, which is just fantastic. And you get all these tools. You also get access to Gemini CLI, but then you actually get higher rate limits to Google Antigravity. And one of the biggest pain points that I had, especially with the Claude and Anthropic models, because if you go to LM Arena, you go into the category of coding, all the Anthropic models are really dominating, and then fourth would be Gemini 3 Pro, but they are very expensive to run. And so when I was in Cursor, I had to be very mindful of like when I was using those models, and I would use them quite sparingly. And then you kind of get stuck in, you know, having to use some weaker models to actually develop. I think it's a great strategy that Google's done, where they purchased a platform called Windsurf, and then they rebranded it and released it as Anti-Gravity, and they gave very generous limits on the free version. But then as a pro user, you get even more generous rate limits, especially for these top models that are expensive like Claude Opus 4.5. While it's running, again, we're still working on this feature here. It's not asking for my input. It's really running quite autonomously. Just comparing it to a platform like Claude Code. From the research that I've done, I think a lot of the advantages of Claude Code are the fact that it's so lightweight and you can run it out of the command line interface. And I really think that this is the best platform that exists right now for agentic coding. But the big drawback is ultimately the cost. In my opinion, I would be using anti-gravity if you're trying to build out certain features and you really want to do things more agentically with the agent manager. I think that's more of its direct competitor to Claude Code. But I think this is really the future, where you're actually a lot less involved in manually reviewing code, and instead you're just having a conversation in plain English. If you're trying to develop either a mobile app or a game, you can really build anything. I just think everyone should just try them out to see where we're at here. Trying to submit to the vibes a little bit. I'm just gonna hit yes, hit accept. Once you actually have a well-established code base and a project and it's documented correctly, it's easy to actually use these agents to do very specific tasks autonomously, and you can kind of trust them. It's actually completed. So we're gonna open the walkthrough document here, changes that it made. So I really do like this kind of summary document. We're gonna come back to Android Studio. We're just gonna do a hot restart. They put the custom bytes up here. Let's just see if the feature works first. So I'm gonna leave custom bytes off, and we're gonna do Apple again. So this little detecting food, as I was mentioning before, I put in a word like computer or car. I would want it to reject that. So it's just kind of a guardrail. So everything's working as expected. If I don't have the toggle on, and then now when I turn it on, let's do Apple scan. Okay, sweet. Then it gives the sliders, which go up to 10. Do I like the slider? Is that the best approach? Maybe I just max it out at 5. Right now, the way the system is currently designed, it's 1 through 4. Maybe I just change the slider to 4. Let's just try with 4. Okay, you press beautiful, it runs. Fantastic. What we'll also want to do is add a quick notation here if the custom bytes are turned on. I just want to make sure everything else works correctly. So when this is on, yeah, honestly, maybe I just leave it up there. I don't know. If you guys have feedback, let me know. Okay, so the 3 pieces of feedback that I'm going to provide, and I'll include screenshots for all of them. Do I want to change the custom bytes image to something else? Should I even have an image there? I kind of like this better. Okay, so here are additional changes I want to make. So really, I'm going to try to throw all of these requests in a single shot. And I find like you want to be very specific. I think I'm going to leave it in the spot that it's currently in. The next change will be the slider. So for this, change the slider. Okay, that all looks good. The only other feedback is going to be when you actually get here for the bytes generated. Okay, so we're going to let that run. It should be able to crush this because I realized I made a mistake here. Let's just retry. Now it's actually been able to update the icon slider range, accept. Okay, sweet. Let's go back to here, hot restart. Okay, nice. Actually, what we'll do just to try out the image, just to make sure this didn't break. Perfect. Let's put 3. Awesome. Perfect. So it did everything that I wanted and we're done. If you just want to get started in vibe coding and actually work with a very powerful IDE, I know there's platforms like Bolt and Lovable and Replit that are great platforms as well, but I just think you can do so much more with a true IDE. Hopefully release a new series starting in March where I vibe code every day for 30 days and I'm able to get a new app to the App Store. If you want to follow along, subscribe, please check out Tummy Scanner, download it, let people know about it, leave me a review. That would be great.